Most established business owners who have hit a plateau assume they're stuck because they just need a better strategy. But what if the real problem is that you have been executing someone else's strategy so well for so long that you've completely lost track of whether that strategy was ever right for you in the first place? That is what we're getting into today in an episode that I'm calling The Good Student Trap: How Playing by Someone Else's Rules Built You the Wrong Business. So, this episode is going to be the recording from an Instagram live that I did last week, instead of a fresh episode, partially because I'm actually getting over being sick today. And I just figured we had a really good conversation on this live. Why do I need to reinvent the wheel? Right. So, I'm all about efficiency. But truly, this conversation really was something I wanted everyone to hear, not just the people who actually follow me on Instagram or happen to watch this video. So, this good student trap is one of the most common patterns that I see in established experts who are doing everything right in their business. They're working their tails off. They're making money, but they know they're capable of more and they feel like something is fundamentally off. So this particular live is part of a 9-part series that I am running right now about why what got your business to where it is today is not going to take it further. And specifically, why that wall you're hitting has nothing to do with effort and everything to do with alignment. So let's talk for a second about the good student trap. I'm going to get more into it in the recording, but if you are the kind of person who did well in school or even just cared about doing well in school, you followed instructions carefully, you studied, you did your homework, maybe you were a little bit of a procrastinator like me. I know in college I would be writing a paper due that morning at like 3 a.m., but still, you got it done and you got good grades. And ultimately, whether you were like, planning weeks in advance or putting it to the last minute like I did, you got rewarded for executing correctly. You got good grades, you got, the honor society, you got recognized by whether it was high school or college or grad school, maybe all of the above. And if that sounds familiar, then there's likely a very specific pattern that is following you into business. Most of you, I'm going to guess, if you're anything like me, you started your business because you knew that the passion and vision that you had for the impact and the income you wanted to make as an expert in any area of expertise, you knew that that wasn't going to work inside of a traditional job. I'm a dietitian by training, and from day one, I knew that the work I wanted to do was not going to fit into a traditional dietetics job. So whether you did it right away like I did, or you worked for a few years and realized that you were like slowly suffocating in that job, you started a business because you wanted more for yourself. And you also probably had things that you wanted to share, things you wanted to talk about, ways that you wanted to impact people that just did not fit that normal job. Now, you get into your business, and maybe in the beginning, you're feeling really excited about having total control and freedom and all this fun stuff. But then the pressure kicks in, and you start to look for what's the right way to do it. So maybe you look around at what other people are doing. You hire a coach. You talk with some colleagues about what's working for them. And so instead of truly escaping the system that you left from, your whether it's a corporate job, a hospital job, whatever your normal field would get put you into as a job, instead of truly escaping that system, you literally just build the same system in your business. You are looking for someone else to tell you what to do. You're looking for the right way to do things. You want the reward to be very direct, kind of like a normal paycheck, right? And so you end up actually creating the very thing that you wanted to get away from in your business. Now, the problem, kind of like to add insult to injury, is that business is unpredictable. It's not guaranteed. It's not usually a stable paycheck. And so now you have all this stress about running your business in a way that does pay you the way you want to be paid, but you're trying to do it in a way that's not aligned with who you are, your values, your circumstances, your goals, your dreams, even the way that you look at the world. So if this is feeling like you, then it's likely that you are in the good student trap. And I want to tell you, the problem is not that you're not working hard enough. It's also not that you're not coachable enough. In fact, you're probably one of the most coachable people out there. You jump into programs and you just hit the ground running. You do the work, you come to the calls, you ask for help. You're like the star student, and that's always been your story, right? Like you've always been the go-getter, the person who wants to do things well and is really committed when you have made a decision. That's a great thing, but it can really become a problem when you are committed to following somebody else's rules as opposed to deciding what the rules are for yourself. So if you've never really stopped to ask whether what you're building is actually what you want to build in the way that actually fits you today and not the version of you that existed 5 years ago, that is the trap. And that is what today's conversation is about. So I'm excited to share this with you. And if this introduction is already landing with you, then I want to invite you to register for my free masterclass this week. It's on Friday, March 13th. You can go to the link in the show notes or head over to lauraschoenfeld.com/masterclass. If you're on Instagram, you can DM me the word masterclass to get the link. On this live training, I am going to walk you through the actual diagnostic process that I have done in my own business and have done with dozens, if not hundreds of clients at this point to help them create the thing that's actually aligned with who they are. You're going to learn how to look at your business clearly with actual truth and not, with imposter syndrome and not with ego. It's just literally being high integrity, looking at what your business is right now and being honest about it. You're going to identify what's misaligned with who you actually are now. So, whether you never built your business for yourself in the first place, or if you're like me and you built something that was for a previous version of you and you know you've outgrown it, we're going to help you figure out where is the misalignment because it might be in one spot, it might be in a couple spots. But usually, what happens is when we find the one domino that needs to fall in your business, the rest of the alignment can come very quickly. You'll also discover which part of your business needs to change in the short term. And again, maybe it's a small tweak, just a little, niche realignment or something. Or it could be a total rebuild. That's what I'm going through right now. I'm really doing a full rebuild of my entire business to match the version of me that exists today. So it really is up to you to determine what does your business need to fit you the best. But I'm going to guide you through the exact process that I have used to do this multiple times in my 12 plus year career as an online business owner. And I'm going to help you do it so that your business can feel fun, profitable, and enjoyable again, and really feel as good as it performs. So I'll be going through my 5-phase process that I use in my own business. I'm using it right now to rebuild. I also use it with every high level client that I work with to find the bottlenecks, find the gaps, find the misalignment pieces, and to realign them so that everything can work based on who you are, your strengths, your goals, your passions, your talents, all the things that make you you, so that your business truly is a reflection of the expertise that you bring to the world and that you're articulating that effectively so that the right clients find you, they're excited to pay you, they pay you the rates you deserve, and your business is flowing again. So, if you feel like you've been doing everything right, you've been doing everything you've been told to do, but something still isn't working, you know you're still not hitting your potential, this is where you need to be on Friday, March 13th. So check the link in the show notes, register now. All registrants will get the replay. So even if you can't come live, you'll get the replay. And we're going to help make 2026 your absolute best year in business and really your most fun as well. All right. So that is what you're in for today. I'm going to drop the replay from the Instagram Live, and I do hope that you will join me not only for the masterclass, but also for the other live videos that we're doing this week and next week, all about this entire process of aligning your business and truly owning your authority as an expert in your field. All right, let's dive in. I hope that you're having a really good Wednesday, and I'm excited to see you after our first of our series yesterday, all about why everything that grew your business to what it is today is not going to take you to the next level. So, if you missed it, yesterday I did talk about 2 different reasons why you might be feeling stuck. Today, we're going to be talking about the belief system that has gotten you there in the first place. So, just as a quick recap for yesterday's session, we talked about 2 big reasons why established business owners are often feeling really out of touch with their business, out of sync, feeling like things are heavier than they ever felt before, feeling like things are harder than they have felt in the past.
So the two big reasons for that, one is that for a lot of people, they never actually aligned their business to themselves when they were building in the first place. So they jumped into business, they started something, maybe they learned from someone else what to do, and they just jumped in and started building, and they never really stopped to actually think about, is what they're building really aligned for them? So that's really common, right? Like you never actually had an aligned business and now you're starting to feel it because it's taking a lot out of you and not giving back what you were hoping it was going to give back. The second one that we talked about yesterday is this idea that maybe when you started your business, when you launched your offer, I've been in business for over 12 years now. So I've had a few different rounds of signature programs that I've run. And when they launched, they were aligned. They were the right thing for you to be doing. They were a good fit. They were, selling really well. You were loving running it. And what can happen is over time, you actually personally change. So your life changes. Like I know for me, I had two kids in the last 4 years. That was a huge change for me and my business. But it doesn't have to be something as massive as having kids, right? It could literally be you moved to a new city, you got married, you had a health crisis. Lots of different things can happen, right? And so if you've been in business for a few years or longer, the version of you that built the offer that you're trying to sell now may actually be totally different than the version of you that exists today. So that is actually growingly common one as well. Maybe not as common as the jumping into a business that's never a good fit in the first place one, but I think I'm starting to see this pattern more and more as people start to really mature in their experience of entrepreneurship, as there are more people in business, and as time goes on, more people's lives change and the business is not keeping up. So one of those two may be you. And if that is you, let me know in the comments if either of those are resonating. If you did not get a chance to watch the live that I did yesterday, I definitely recommend going to watch that. But what I want to talk about today is something that I call the good student trap. So I call it the good student trap because it's something that I have definitely dealt with myself. I've had so many clients that have come to me with the same issue. And what the good student trap is when you're somebody who historically, and maybe it's your whole life, right? Like maybe even when you were in second grade, you were the teacher's pet and you were doing all the assignments and getting all the awards, getting all the accolades, getting into the schools you wanted to get into. And a lot of your formative years as a child, young adult were rewarded for fitting into the system, right? So we all know that the educational system is built for a particular type of performance. It's not generally built for innovation and trying new things and learning from failure. It's really built for people who they do the work they're told to do, they study, they take the tests, they perform the way that the teacher says they need to perform, and they get the grade. So, obviously, every experience is going to be different in different ways, but I think for most of us, for the most part, that was what our experience was in school. Is like, you know exactly what you need to do. Here's your assignment. Do the work the way you were told to do it, and you get the good grade. We all know entrepreneurship is totally different than that. So, if you've been in business for even months, let alone years, I don't have to tell you that you do not just get results just because of how hard you work. Unfortunately, for better or worse, there are times where you put in a ton of work and you don't get what you were expecting. So, I think it's pretty obvious that the way that we approach entrepreneurship is different than the way that we approach school. And I actually think a lot of you got into entrepreneurship because you didn't want to be in a system that rewarded conformity. You wanted to be able to express yourself fully. You wanted to be able to try new things, to innovate, to learn, to grow, to do things that are not just following the system, right? I'm a registered dietitian by background, and I think dietetics is one of the most system aligned type of business or type of schooling that you can get into because everything is follow the protocol. This is standard of care, this is how you get paid, and everything is so prescriptive. And if you want to do things differently, if you have different ideas, if you have different perspectives, a lot of times the dietetics world is not super friendly to that, right? So that was one of the big reasons that I got into entrepreneurship beyond just wanting to have more income potential, is that I knew that I had a lot of perspectives that were different than what I was being taught in my dietetics program. And I just knew my perspective was not necessarily going to align super well with the jobs that were out there, right? So that was how I started my business at this point 12 years ago. And so you get into this business and you're like, I want things to be different. I want to be self expressed. I want to go my own way. I want to do my own thing. I want to really be who I am and be everything that I am capable of. And what happens is you jump from one system to the next, right? So you have this system of education, of schooling, of what's expected of you, of go get a job and go, punch the clock or get the benefits and have that safety that everybody wants in their career. Um so you decided to skip that right when you started your own business, but then you got into yet another system where people are telling you to do it the way that they say to do it. So, whether that is a coach who basically just said, do what I do to get the result, whether that is your colleagues and peers in your industry that you're looking around and seeing what they're doing, and it's like, maybe I should do it the way they're doing it. It could even be friends and family that are saying, hey, the way you're doing things doesn't seem like a good idea. That's too risky. And all of this stuff you start to internalize, right? You start to internalize, I need to do it this way to be successful. This is what works. This is how I need to say it. And you get so wrapped up in doing things the right way, saying things the right way, pricing things the right way, delivering your services the right way, that you don't ever even stop to question, is what I'm building, is what I'm doing actually the thing that I want to do? Is it what I feel actually aligned with? Is it even a good fit for me? Is this where my skills really are? And so you can kind of just go nose to the grindstone and build this thing that, again, is not actually aligned with who you are and what you're here to do. So, this is super common for the people who have that background of being a good student because, again, we got rewarded for following the rules. We got rewarded for doing what we were told and for, filling in the assignments, doing the things that the teacher set out for us. And then we get into an entrepreneurship place and nobody's telling us what to do, which is awesome. That's what we want. But what ends up happening is if you don't decondition from that belief that you need to be told what to do, you end up looking for somebody else to tell you what to do. And so a lot of times what that is you go hire a coach and be like, just tell me what to do. I cannot tell you the number of people who I've worked with who are like, I just want somebody to tell me what to do. And I get it. I appreciate it. It totally makes sense. I understand why. But what I will say is it's something that, if left unchecked, can become a really big problem in your business because you're just constantly looking outside of yourself to make decisions. And if you're a good student, you're the one who's taking action and doing those things that you're being told to do. So I know that there's the concept that success leaves clues, and that's not wrong. We can look around at what other people are doing for inspiration, for ideas, for even just borrowing belief of what's possible. I think honestly, if I was going to say the one thing that's most useful when you look around the industry, when it comes to the way that you are operating in your business, the most useful thing is to look for people who are achieving what you want to achieve and look at that as proof as what's possible. So rather than being like, well, they're doing it this way, so that means I have to do it this way, just using them as a belief builder and saying, yeah, that's awesome. I might not do it the exact same way that they did, but just the fact that they're doing it means that I know it's possible. So when you have that mindset that success leaves clues, what can end up happening is instead of just being inspired by other people, you end up thinking that the way that they're doing it is the way it needs to be done. And then you end up building somebody else's business. So I have definitely personally had this experience a lot. I am definitely a quote good student as far as my background is concerned. And yes, I was a bit of a rebel as far as like my perspective is concerned, but I was getting, really good grades, honors, society, all that stuff. And so it was in my way of operating to assume that if I was being told to do something by somebody who's more successful than me, more like farther along, whatever we want to say is the reason why you're trusting this person. If they're saying that something should be done, you do it. Right. And so I went through this experience in the last few years where I was doing things because I was being told by a coach or a mentor, somebody I was spending a lot of money with, that this was what needed to be done. And to be fair, it wasn't always that they were saying I had to do it. It was that they were teaching it to a group and they were saying, this is what we're talking about. This is what, we're going to be doing today in this event or, on this call or whatever is going on. And me being the good student, I was like, okay, yes, I'm going to do it. Right. And so what I realized after a few years of a lot of money spent, a lot of time spent, a lot of execution. And when I say a lot of money, I mean like at least one to $200,000 of investments in coaches, programs, that kind of thing. After all of that and realizing that none of what I was doing with all of that execution that I was learning from these, big ticket investments, none of it was actually making my business better. I mean, maybe there was little things here and there, but there was not this significant ROI from following what people were saying we should do. And looking back on it, I really think that the biggest issue was that I was just so eager to, first of all, get an ROI from these investments, but second of all, do what I was being told to do because I trusted the people that were telling me to do it. I never stopped to ask myself, is this even relevant? Is this related to my goals? Is this actually what I want to do? Is this actually the step I should be taking right now? And I really just had this blind, like, I'm just going to do it because I'm paying for this and they're saying to do it. So let's do it. And and I'm not saying to blame the coach. I literally am taking responsibility for my own approach here to say, I should have slowed down. I should have paused. I should have gotten more clear on what it is that I really wanted and how my circumstance would affect that. Because yes, like building a business when I was single and no kids and, a lot younger, 10, 15 years younger, it's a lot different than now having two kids under the age of 4, being married, having a lot of other stuff going on, right? So I had all these personal changes that happened, and I never really stopped to ask myself if what I was building was actually what I wanted to build. So, this is something that is so common. If you were somebody who did well in school or at least wanted to do well in school, because it doesn't even have to mean that you got good grades, it just means that you cared about getting good grades. If you were somebody who followed the rules, followed the instructions, put your heart into everything, if you're like the most coachable person in your whole business coaching program, this is the trap you can run into. So I wanted to share this with you guys today because I've been going through my own kind of like deconstruction of my business to really look at everything that I'm doing and to ask myself, is this still aligned with who I am? Is this still what I care about? Is this still what I feel called to do? Is this still actually the thing that I'm maximally skilled at that matches the value in the marketplace so that I'm making as much money as I'm actually capable of making? So these are the kind of questions that I've been asking myself to really start to examine what am I building in my business and not just like literally be nose to the grindstone, just like chugging away, just like doing the same thing and hoping that magically I'm just going to like feel better about it. Um and so going through this process and realizing, oh, I've been here before. This was very similar to how I felt when I switched from nutrition to business coaching. Just realizing that like I need to slow down and really think about what I'm doing here because the last few years have been just like go, 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 do what I need to do, make it happen. And I think for me, a lot of that was because of the extra pressure that came on with having kids. Just because like going from just you to now you're responsible for the finances of these little ones that literally have nothing that they can do to support anything, let alone help with the money. It just was like this extra pressure that made me feel like the business has to perform at a certain level. Excuse me. I am really getting my butt kicked by allergies today. Hold on. So, all of that to say, I am going through this process myself and really over the last several months, really going very internal to say, what is it that I want to create? Where am I at in my life and my business now? It's different than it was 5 years ago, even different than it was like 3 years ago, because I just had my second baby last year, right? Going from one to two kids is a huge change. So, really just doing this inventory of, am I actually building the thing that I want to build? And if not, what needs to change? So, we're going to talk more about this exact topic in my upcoming masterclass on Friday, March 13th. It's called Own Your Authority. And we're going to be getting into how to actually do the diagnostic process in your business to look at what is not aligned with who you are and how you want to be known in the world, and what needs to change or pivot or tweak or maybe completely redo, like what I'm doing, so that who you are and your expertise and what you're really feeling called to do is actually being expressed in the world, right? It's, who am I? What do I care about? What am I skilled at? What's the best possible value that I can bring to the people who want to pay me? And then are you actually expressing that effectively? So we're going to get into which parts of your business you need to look at, how to know where you actually are struggling, whether that's more on the internal or the external side. And then I'm going to walk you through my 5 phase process that I have been through multiple times in my own business to be able to identify what's not working, what's not aligned, what needs to change, whether it's, again, little tweaks or massive changes, knowing that I can trust myself to make those decisions. And then I lead all of my clients through this process as well. So a lot of times the people who are coming to me, especially at the higher levels, doing one-on-one, they're coming to me because they cannot see what is missing or misaligned or just not working for them. And they're so in it. They're so just like, crushing their business every day and feeling that weight that they don't even know what they don't know. And it's not because they're not smart. It's not because they're not educated about how to run a business. It's just they're too stuck in it and they have not taken that, like, let's step back and look at this whole thing holistically, and they aren't able to see the forest for the trees, if that makes sense. So that's what we're going to be going over on this workshop on Friday, March 13th. If you'd like the link to register, just DM me the word masterclass. We're going to go into, how to diagnose yourself, how to know which part of your business needs fixed, the questions you can be asking yourself to start digging into some of this stuff. And like I said, I'll be reviewing my 5 phase process that I take my clients through that allows them to make sure everything is fully aligned, tighten it up, make sure it matches who they are and what they want to express in the world. And what that ends up doing is allowing them to make more money, not have to work as hard, and actually fall back in love with their business. So if you want to have a business that feels as good as it performs, I want you to join me for Friday's masterclass, Friday the 13th. It is all about how to own your authority so you can make the decisions that best fit you and your business so that you can have the life and business that you want. So I hope that you'll join me there. I hope that this little perspective on the good student trap was helpful. If you are watching the replay, just drop in the comments below if anything resonated or if you recognize yourself as a good student. We're going to make sure we're deconditioning all of that out of you so that you can actually create the exact business that you want that will thrive and will make all the money that you want while allowing you to do the work that you're here to do. All right. Well, that's it for me. I hope you have a good rest of your afternoon. Tomorrow we are going to be talking about the real reason why your coach's strategy didn't work for you. So this one's going to be a juicy one because, again, if you're anything like me, you've spent a lot of money on coaching, on mentorship, on masterminds, on all the things. And if you're a good student, you probably did a lot of execution, and maybe you're finding that, hey, this thing that I was told was going to work isn't working. Why is that? We're going to get into that tomorrow. All right. So I hope I'll see you there. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern. Follow me on Instagram to get the alert when I'm going live, and I will look forward to seeing you here on that live tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nourished CEO podcast. And if this episode got you thinking about how you're actually wired to run your business, your next step is to take the CEO type quiz. Because here's the thing. Most of the business advice out there was built for someone specific. And if that someone isn't you, it doesn't matter how hard you work or how many strategies you implement. It's just never going to feel right, and it's never going to work as well as it should. Knowing your CEO type changes all of that. After you take the quiz, your results page will walk you through your natural strengths, your biggest blind spots, and a concrete game plan for your offers, messaging, sales, and even your calendar, all built around how you actually think and lead. Not generic advice, your specific direction. It takes about 5 minutes and it's completely free. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to lauraschoenfeld.com/quiz. And if you already know your type and this episode resonated with you, share the quiz with someone else who needs it. The right framework at the right time can completely change how someone sees their business. And honestly, that's exactly why I made this. All right, I'll see you next time on the Nourish CEO podcast.